We got the great author and writer Ian O'Connor on Coast to Coast today, and he's got another amazing book out of the darkness, the mystery of Aaron Rodgers, and it's getting a lot of buzz and attention, and deservedly. I was just telling Ian, I'm a huge fan of his work through the years. He's done everything brilliantly as a writer, and now he's kicking out these great books, one after the next. It starts the sale of this book on August 20th, and it's already getting the reaction, certainly from Rodgers. Now, I know that he did this interview with my old friends Boomer and Gio. I think that was this morning that he went on their show. By any chance, did you catch him talking about your book today?
I did, Scott, and it's great to be on a legend, to be on with the legend, like I said earlier, as far as you're concerned. But yeah, I heard him with Boomer and Gio, and he hadn't read the book yet. I was glad to hear that he's at least going to read the first chapter about his grandfather's heroism in World War II, and after that, we'll see. But he made the book better by giving me a 2-hour sit down at his Malibu home, which obviously he didn't have to give. And he owed me nothing when I started this unauthorized project. So, but he's the best interview in the NFL, and he proved to be that day. And he definitely made it better with his candor, his thoughtfulness. And I've always found him from a distance to be a great interview. And I think that is an underappreciated part of his public persona.
So, you know, what I can't figure out about him is that he was willing to talk to you in Malibu, and he does such a thorough interview with you and spent that much time with you. And then, he talks about how much he appreciated your work and how much he respected what you did about his grandfather. And then he basically, in not so many words, today said all the other stories are lies and don't believe anything you read. Like, at some point, you just want to punch him in the face. Like, what is it going to be with this guy? I mean, honestly, like, he's cool enough to do the interview with you and talk about all these things. And then he turns around and says, don't believe what you read.
I might have missed that part. I don't know if he said that on the Boomer and Gio interview or he said it later.
Listen, I'll say what he said.
Yeah,
I think he reached out to 500 people and talked to maybe half of those people. I believe he had already written the first draft. We had a conversation and sat down. It was more just kind of him asking a few things. A lot of the stuff that you're hearing here is 20 years old. I commend him for the time he spent on it, but it's not a book I asked him to write for me. He said there are some interesting stories, I'm sure, that are coming out of it, and a lot of those are not based on fact, to be honest.
Yeah, there's
please him.
Well, the thing is, there are objective truths, and then there's, as he talked about in that at some point in that interview, perception. And Aaron Rodgers could be in the middle of an anecdote, a scene somewhere in his life, and there could be 4 or 5 other people there that people I talk to, and they may have a different viewpoint on what happened in that scene. That doesn't mean it's wrong, and it doesn't mean Aaron's wrong as far as his version of that story is concerned either. But this book is all, I wasn't there, obviously. I was living across the country when he was becoming a young football star. And so I relied on the memories and cooperation of people in his life. Every fact in that book came out of someone's mouth who knows him, who's a family member, a friend, a teammate, a coach, an opponent, you name it. So listen, I want to see him read the book first because he said he hadn't read it. And then let's see what his summation is at that point. But what he's saying right now is irrelevant to me until he reads the book.
You're right, Ian. Absolutely. I want to ask you about why, when you dug into his personal life, about his estrangement from his family. And, like, that's amazing to me that, like, there's only one way to describe it from my end is how does a guy... Like, I mean, I'll never know. It's not my family. It's not my business. But how does a guy, it seems that when you get superstardom and you rise to the level he has with all the MVPs and a Super Bowl ring, and then maybe there's a chance someone might get a little different and cocky and change a little bit. But I've never heard of someone that just absolutely disowned his family.
Yeah, as far as superstar athletes are concerned, I think he's the first one I've come across where he's in this position now where he hasn't talked to his parents and his only siblings in almost 10 years. Outside of his brief interaction with his father last year at Lake Tahoe at the celebrity golf tournament, they had an emotional hug. They told each other they loved each other, and it was emotional for 30 seconds, and then it ended. It was a meaningful moment, and I think hopefully it was the first baby step towards a reconciliation. But yeah, and everybody wants a singular reason for why this division in the family exists, and there isn't a single reason. There are about 17 reasons. And some of them seem, from the outside looking in, to be pretty petty. It seems to me that this estrangement has taken on a life of its own. It's a living organism, and he doesn't know how to kill it off. And so it's easier, instead of confronting it and ending it, to let it linger. So hopefully, again, this scene that I have in the book from Lake Tahoe last summer with his father. And by the way, the road to reconciliation with the entire family is going to run through his father. His father was his idol, his hero. He wanted to be his dad. He had said that when he was a college player. And he said in my book, he wants a relationship with his dad. And I think when that happens, Scott, the rest of the family comes together in an organic way, I think.
I hope that comes to fruition for him, because I can tell you, when you lose your father, you'll rue the day that you didn't fix your problems. Everyone's got all the answers when people are alive. They don't have them when they're gone. I want to ask you about his rehab from this injury. I was reading Lupica last Sunday about, this is about, can this guy come back from this at his age? And that he hadn't won a ring in 13 years, and he's got one ring for all of his magnificence and his power as a star quarterback in this league. Like, everyone, no one talks about anyone more than this guy in the NFL, and he's got one ring. I've always talked about, there's a lot of guys. Eli Manning's got two. Honestly, like, this guy gets more attention than any player I've ever seen in my life that's got one ring. And then he talked about his failings in the playoffs the last couple of years. What was it like talking about the rehab of the Achilles? And do you believe, Ian, that he can be great again?
I think he might have 1 year of greatness, Scott, left in him. The recovery from the Achilles surgery was brutal. In the early hours of that recovery and rehab, he was questioning whether or not he could ever play again. He was questioning whether or not the Jets actually wanted him back. There were some dark, grim moments in those early weeks, but he overcame that. And then he actually legitimately, it wasn't a publicity stunt, was trying to play at the end of last year. He told his trainer, Aaron Alexander, that if we beat Miami on December 17th on the road, I'm playing Christmas Eve against Washington. His trainer wanted him to wait until 2024 because he was afraid that he'd rush back, re-tear the Achilles, and that would be the end of his career. So obviously the Jets lost that game 30-0, so it became a moot point. But I think the football gods owe that fatalistic Jet fan base one here. They sort of owe Aaron Rodgers one here. And their roster's better. To me, they look like an 11-6 team. He's got to stay healthy for at least 14 or 15 starts, and hopefully it'll play out that way.
Out of the darkness, the mystery of Aaron Rodgers out. Listen, Ian, all of your books are so fantastic. Coach K, Jack and Arnie, Belichick. This one's going to be a bestseller. Your stuff in the newspapers, unequaled by your peers. You're a badass. It's an honor to have you on the show. Obviously, you don't need it, but good luck with the book. I'm sure you're going to kill it as usual, and I'm sure it's utterly fantastic. Thanks for taking time to talk about your great new book with us today on Coast to Coast.